Wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up.
Good morning Barbados, good morning to you. Good morning, 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 morning. Good morning to you. Good morning Barbados, good morning to you. Good morning Barbados, good morning.
Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Morning to you.
Today, everyone, and welcome to Friday the 2nd of May, 2025. I am Pearson Bowen. It is wonderful having you company. I hope you had a lovely yesterday, and I hope your yesterday was one filled with all sorts of not just fun, but festivity and family fellowship, all of that. And so, it's Friday. It's the start of the weekend as we like to know it. And so for those of you watching on our streams on YouTube, Facebook, and our website, cbc.bb, good morning. Good morning to you indeed. Welcome to the weekend. It's perhaps the one night when you have one of the best sleeps ever, especially when you don't have to work tomorrow. So enjoy it. Enjoy your snoring, enjoy your turning and your tossing and everything else. But have a great weekend indeed. For those of you, thank you. And if you have an idea or if you know of something or someone which you think we need to share on the show, just send us an email. The email address is morninbarbados@cbc.bb. morninbarbados@cbc.bb. And we thank you. We really do generously thank you for sharing us the tips, the guidance, and everything else as well. So don't stop doing it. We're thankful for you doing so. Remember to share the show, share the love, share the activity, share the fun, share everything with everyone. Tell them about us. Bring them along with you as well to share with us on mornings Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock bright and early. It's Friday, and there's a lot to share. But most of all, I want to get to your brains early o'clock waking up. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I do have a riddle for you. It's Friday. You know me, I like to have my fun on a Friday. So what is today's riddle? To get you cracking, remember to give me a call on 228-5562 or 228-5563. 228-5562, 228-5563. The question is, why do cats make good warriors? Why do cats make good warriors? It is so easy, you wouldn't believe it. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Perhaps if you're a cat lover or an animal lover, you'll perhaps better able to answer this question. But why do cats make good warriors? Is it because they scratch a lot? Could it be that? Me not know, but you perhaps do, and you can call me on 228-5562 or 228-5563. Get in before Monica. Get in fast before Monica, and let me know what you think. Why do cats make good warriors? There has to be a reason for it. Good morning, Roosevelt Bacco. How are you doing indeed? He's saying happy Friday to all on board. Bacco is overseas in the United States. Bacco, thanks. Have yourself a lovely day as well. Auntie Faye is in the north of the island. She's in St. Peter. And Auntie Faye says to all of you, have a lovely day. Thank you, Auntie Faye. It's good having you company as well. Patricia Ben is also in the United States. And she's saying to the crew and all of you, a very good morning. And you too, Patricia Ben, have a lovely day. Kieron Oliver, good morning to you as well. A blessing to be here and a blessing having you. Thank you, Kieron. We know you do what we've asked you to do, which is to share the show. And I thank you for doing so. Slender Glenda is in Christchurch. Slender Glenda, good morning. Have yourself a fantastic Friday. She's also wishing all of the beautiful viewers a lovely day. I'm waiting still on your call, by the way. Why do cats make good warriors? Why do cats make good warriors? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Now, while I wait on that, on your call and your answer, coming up today, have the curtains really closed on the drama in Trinidad and Tobago following the general elections held early this week? Well, maybe they have. We'll get an update with Darice Polo in just a moment. But we have a call. Good morning. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks.
Oh, very good to
Are
have
you?
you. You're very welcome. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. May I ask who's calling and where you're watching from?
This is Beverly.
Hello, Beverly of St. James, right?
Yes, please.
How was your yesterday, Beverly? Did you have a good May Day?
Oh, I had a wonderful day.
Oh dear, you know, have me curious as to what made it so wonderful, Beverly.
Because
What would you say?
I went to breakfast early yesterday morning with 9 other friends of mine.
With some
Friends
friends?
who I have known for the past 50 years.
Whoa. Some
So-
old school mates.
No, all workmates.
Oh, workmates. And
Yeah.
that must have been fantastic.
Oh, it was wonderful. We had a wonderful breakfast at the Hilton, and then we spent half of the afternoon there. We got back home after, must be 3 or so. It
Girl, you
was
had some
so
money.
good.
You had some money to spend, girl.
No. It's just
Where-
breakfast. It's
You
just
went at
breakfast.
the Hilton. It wasn't
Yeah.
just anywhere. You went to the Hilton.
Yeah, but we retired girls must be able to enjoy ourselves.
Fair enough. Where did you work, Bev?
I was a nurse and midwife, and then I became the training and development officer at the QEH.
Oh, I hear it in your voice. You were so proud of your journey through life thus far. Well done.
Yeah,
Well done, Beverly.
yes.
So, Beverly, impress me now. Impress me. What's the answer?
Because cats are said to have 9 lives.
That makes them a good warrior? Mm-hmm. Is a warrior supposed to be equipped with the wherewithal to be able to fight and defend?
Oh, but cats can fight too. Cats
Humans
can
too?
fight. Cats are very vicious.
Humans too? Humans too?
Yeah, but that is why they're good warriors, though, because they have 9 lives.
9 lives? Mm-hmm. You really believe that?
Yep.
That cats have 9 lives?
You know we're doing a riddle, so it's just something that is
I
said.
understand you. I understand you, Bev. But I'm asking you now, outside of the riddle, do you really believe that cats have 9 lives? And if so, how do you know that they have 9 lives? Have you counted them?
No, but cats would go up on the highest shelf or cupboard or whatever and
Humans
jump down, and they will and not injure themselves.
Humans do.
Cats will leave your house and walk all over the neighborhood
Humans
and
do.
come back.
Humans do.
I don't know, but I just feel it's because they got 9 lives.
You got me ticking your head down. Anyway, Beverly, you're right. You're absolutely right because they have 9 lives. Well done, Beverly.
Yeah, so the brain working early in the morning.
It was the breakfast yesterday, but thanks, sir.
Yes, thank you so much. Have a
You're
wonderful
welcome, Beverly.
day. Yes.
All right, good.
Bye-bye.
So we're going to get to the drama in just a moment in Trinidad and Tobago. And at this time next Tuesday coming, we'll have thousands of little ones preparing to sit the 11 plus exam. We call it the Common Interest. They call it the Barbados Secondary School Entrance Exam. Many names. I call it the 11 plus. Morning, Marveline. Have a lovely day. But they're getting ready. How ready are they? And what should we do now on this weekend before the 11 plus to help them to calm their nerves and to truly do their absolute best in that examination room? Margaret Grant will join us to share us more. Tomorrow, St. John gathers at the standpipe to tell stories. And so this morning we'll hear from the University of the West Indies and the Barbados Museum about what happens next. Having spoken, having shared those stories, what do we do with those stories? And perhaps it's a great opportunity not just for those in St. John, but for all of us to sit around that standpipe as well at St. John Parish Church to share in those standpipe stories. When we go afar, we're heading to a Bajan living in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We want to hear why she's there and what she's been up to. Can't wait to talk to her in a little bit as well. And today, have you ever heard of the Cropper Foundation? You haven't? Stick around. I'll tell you in just a little while. But let's get talking now. We could not have had a better week. We could not have had a better week with Trinidad and Tobago and the Trinidad and Tobago general elections. There were all sorts of things happening. I wouldn't describe it the way my head was telling me to. But nevertheless, after the dust was settled, we now have change in Trinidad and Tobago. To help us walk us through the drama and all that unfolded since last we spoke is Doris Polo, who is a senior reporter with Guardian Media Limited, who has been our lady on the ground. Truly a good friend to Morning Barbados now. Doris, Friday morning to you. How are you doing?
Good morning, Pearson, and good morning, Barbados. Man, it's been action-packed in Trinidad. I haven't gotten enough rest.
I am sure. You know, we were told following the elections that on Wednesday, the PNM, the outgoing leaders, who the party who was in leadership before, were going to be meeting to discuss their future and to appoint an opposition leader. And boy, did that bring itself some drama. Talk to me what happened.
Yeah, so after the election loss that was described as a sweeping one. It sort of stunned the former political leader of the party, that was Dr. Keith Rowley. Now, Dr. Rowley said that he would have resigned as prime minister and then he would have held on as the People's National Movement political leader for no longer than 2025 until he would have consulted with the executive of the party to, hand over. And they usually have a national convention that was set for September. But after that loss, he determined that it was necessary for him to step down. And so he indicated on Tuesday that, or was it 4 hours after, that he had intended to step down as PNM political leader. And shortly after, the chairman, which at that time would have been the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Stuart Young, he would have resigned from the party as well. So by the General Council meeting for the party on Wednesday, Dr. Rowley and Mr. Young both attended Balize House, the headquarters for the People's National Movement. Having already resigned from executive positions, Dr. Rowley would have gone to Balize House, cleaned out his office. I mean, this man just went from being the prime minister for 2 terms. And then he would have essentially contested an election, which he lost as political leader. And he rode off into the sunset. And there was a decision. The People's National Movement would have gone from having 22 parliamentary seats down now to 13. The United National Congress cupped 26. The Tobago People's Party unseated the People's National Movement in Tobago, which was something that was a bit unexpected for some members of the People's National Movement, you could argue. And they got 2 seats. So that makes up now the 41 parliamentary seats. And it was pretty shocking. Dr. Rowley was stunned that seats the PNM held since 1986 rolled over to the United National Congress.
Wow. I mean, and already we saw the setting up of quite a drama to follow. But the people on the ground also had comments to make about it. And so we were able to get a video that's shared with the people there. And we want to share with the people here the people's response to the drama happening in the PNM. And let's take a look at that and then we'll come back and talk about it right after.
And it's about time that it have a little new blood in it to do things differently.
I don't really agree. But, I mean, the fact that he retired, I mean, I'm going to enjoy. It's too much drama. So I think he should go and enjoy his retirement.
It's a good idea, which is today. And I think Kamala is coming into power tomorrow. Yes, she is. Well, it's a good decision on his behalf to step down and give fresh people a good view on what they want to do.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with the decision because, like, for 10 years, the country didn't really have a change. But at the same time, I understand Rowley movement. I still understood he planned. But, like, I feel it was a good decision because 10 years and not really nothing.
Yes, I do. Why? He's old. It's time for retirement.
Yes, I do agree. Well, my reason is that, he's doing one sort of nonsense already, so.
Well, the people spoke, Darius, the people spoke, and they all seemingly are in agreement with the election's result that he should resign. But what was the feel on the ground, though, not just to his resignation, but to Stuart Young's resignation? Because I see all sorts of things happening on social media about that.
Yeah, I mean, you have the general public's opinion and then you would have the People's National Movement's opinion, yeah? So I was at Balize House on election night and I can tell you it was a dismal scene. People, there were barely any supporters there, a few people lined the streets. You saw vendors, there were more technical staff. But by the conclusion of election night around 10:15 p.m. and that was on Monday when Dr. Rowley informed the crowd that they had lost the election. Some people there placed blame squarely at his doorstep, but they felt that Stuart Young was dealt a raw deal, that he was given an insurmountable task and that he really should not take responsibility. So on the outside, the supporters think that he should be held accountable. But of course, internally, where the senior party members were concerned. There were some people that were disgruntled. A former Labour Minister, Jennifer Baptiste Primer, saying that they both should pack up and leave. Similarly, a former party executive, Robert Lahunt, who was also a government minister at one point, saying the same thing. And so there were conflicting positions within the People's National Movement. But for the opposition, they had called for Dr. Rowley to leave the moment he won the election. And they found that they were unsatisfied with some of his decisions. And so for the opposition, United National Congress, this was a long overdue departure.
And so the drama began. And so they had then to meet as a council to determine who will be appointed the opposition leader. So many other names came forward, but the one that rose to the top was Penelope Beckles. And how surprising was that for you, that she was the one who then, based on the cast of votes, was the one selected to be the opposition leader?
Not surprising in the least. And that would be because in March, when Dr. Rowley, well, even prior to that, when he announced his decision to step down, there were suspicions that his successor would be Mr. Stuart Young. Subsequently, it would have been in early March, there was a straw poll conducted, and Penelope Beckles was the only contender for Stuart Young for that position. Now, we were left with just 30 people in the PNM elected to the leadership. 2 of them were new individuals to the scene. When it comes to becoming members of parliament, they may have had smaller roles, like an alderman in a regional corporation, but they didn't have such big. One of unknown, that's Mr. Christian Birchwood. He was given a safe seat as well. So 2 newcomers. You were left with a few government officials that either backed Penelope Beckles at one point or would have indicated that they didn't have a desire to be in that position. But there were some PNM stalwarts. I would have spoken with Ferdy Ferreira, and he would have mentioned he felt the party should have backed Stuart Young, that he felt that because of the racial demographic in Trinidad and Tobago, out of the 13 people elected to the House of Representatives, Mr. Young was the only non-Afro-Trinidadian there. And he felt that for the sake of optics, and as well as because the blame should have been squarely put at the doorstep of Dr. Rowley, that they should have not panicked and given Stuart Young the mandate so that by convention came around in September, they could have made a determination as to whether he should be able to continue perhaps as interim political leader, but also the opposition leader in the House of Representatives. But that did not happen. The PNM is a party that if you make a decision that causes them to lose the election, it's likely that you can be hounded out of office. It happened in 2010 with Prime Minister Patrick Manning, and supporters would have even spat at him. So this is Dr. Rowley and Mr. Young. So there's a saying: you take front before front take you, and that is what one could argue happened.
Wow, there is much more to talk about. That's only Act 1 in the drama that's unfolding in Trinidad. We'll come right back and talk a little bit more with Darius Polo, who is a senior reporter in the Guardian Media Limited right there in Trinidad and Tobago, as we continue sharing with you the aftermath of the general elections in Trinidad. Back in a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
God will not give you a job. God will not call you to do something and then not give you the capacity to have it, to make it happen. He will give you the resources. He'll give you the people. Not only will he equip you with ideas, but he will equip you with favor, as he did Nehemiah.
Turn on the latest episode of Infinite Possibilities, only on CBC TV 8, every Sunday at 1:30 p.m.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 20 minutes after 6 o'clock. So the story is, we're up until now we know that Penelope Beckles is, as determined by the PNM, the opposition leader in Trinidad and Tobago. What happened next? Darius Polo will talk to us in just a moment about it, because then all heads turned to the swearing in. That was yesterday, I believe it was.
Yeah, the swearing in now. Let's also be clear. This is history in Trinidad and
I
Tobago.
was coming to that, Darius.
We
Hold on,
have
hold on,
a
hold on. Hold. This is my production. Because the swearing in now, let's go to there before we come to the historical part of it. And that happened. Where did that happen?
Yeah, so that happened at President's House yesterday.
Yes.
In the capital city. That's just around the Queen's Park Savannah. And I have to tell you, it was a celebration inside of there. I also attended the swearing in. I told you I haven't gotten that kind of rest. And it was action packed because Kamala Persad-Bissessar was supported by the individuals that wanted her in office. So what you saw was that the host of Crime Watch, a talk show in Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Ian Allen, a friend of hers, was invited. Apart from the people that would likely be in her cabinet, the MPs that were elected, the regional corporations, you saw some financiers and just people that she would have invited to support her. The room at President's House was filled to capacity. And then there were supporters outside of President's House, waving banners, waving flags, saying the people want Kamala, which was a rework of soca artist Iowa George's song, The People Want Water.
Yes.
It was something to witness yesterday.
Wow. And I saw too with that crowd that had gathered outside, in spite of police protestations, please don't crowd, please don't block. They ignored that. They just ran to show their full support for those candidates who they voted in and the UNC in general. So as you said, we want to show that moment when Kamala Persad-Bissessar took the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago and held it in her hand and shared her oath. Let's take a look at that and we'll come right back.
I, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to Trinidad and Tobago and will uphold the Constitution, this Constitution, and the law. And I will conscientiously, impartially, and to the best of my ability, discharge my duties as Prime Minister and to do right to all manner of people without fear or favor, affection or ill will. I do swear by this Constitution.
And with that said, Darius, now we have history. Now you can tell me about the history.
Yeah, I mean, so firstly, I want to acknowledge that swearing on the Constitution is not the norm. Because we have multiple religious denominations, what you tend to see is people choose their religious preference and they swear. So being Hindu, she would have sworn on the Bhagavad Gita, but Mrs. Persad-Bissessar, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, is taking a very different approach to when she previously served this nation. What she's saying is that she is upholding the right of Trinidad and Tobago, and she intends to be a prime minister for all. So that was very different. But in addition to that, we see our female president, Christine Kangaloo, swearing in our female prime minister for the second time. She's going to be the prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And now we also have a female opposition leader. So if that is not woman power, I don't know what is.
Yes, we bow to you. And so here we have the three leaders in Trinidad and Tobago, your president, your prime minister, and your opposition leader, right? They get to know their faces, folks. These are the women who are driving the change in Trinidad and Tobago, even as we speak, coming out of the general elections held on Tuesday. And so with that, what do we now know, or what should we now know about Penelope Beckles herself? Because she's the one in the crowd who we may not know very much about. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Ms. Beckles has been in politics for quite some time, and she is a very familiar face. She went up, in fact, in internal elections against Dr. Rowley when he was first vying for the post after Patrick Manning would have lost the last election that he would have contested in 2010. And I have to tell you that she's a familiar face. She was ambassador to the United States, and that is something that is well known in Trinidad and Tobago in the political political arena where it's almost like exile. When you contest an election, you don't win. You sort of get put into an ambassadorship, and then you're brought in depending on whether you're able to make amends with whomever is now the political leader of the party. So Ms. Beckles is not new to politics in Trinidad and Tobago. She's going to be very new to being the opposition leader, and she also has a very different style from the Rowley. People on the ground, even PNM people, were complaining about what they felt was arrogance and dismissiveness coming from the leadership under Dr. Rowley. Mrs. Penelope Beckles is a very different person. She's already indicated that she's very willing to meet with the opposition leader and not be an opposition that is going to be obstructive, but one that is working towards changing things in Trinidad and Tobago, offering amendments where necessary. Because at this point in time, the United National Congress has a 3/5 majority, having 26 of the seats. So it means that for a lot of the legislation that may be passed, they may not necessarily even need opposition support. But things are left to be seen. We are about to see what they will tackle first. But Ms. Beckles is a person that has ground support. She's the ARIMA Member of Parliament. She served in that capacity as well for 2 terms, and now this is going to be her 3rd. She's no stranger to politics, and the people, members of the People's National Movement, said she should have been the person chosen even before Stuart Young. So that there's a sense there that there's a lot of love, even people in the UNC. I'm talking about just common supporters. They have been throwing their support behind her as well.
That's fantastic. So she has a good start. And, you know, she's one of the other things I'm also seeing is that the Oil and Trade Workers Union, they're giving support to the Prime Minister's proposal to reopen Petrotrin. Is that creating conversation in Trinidad as well?
Yeah, most definitely. So the Petrotrin refinery was closed because the government said that it was unsustainable. It was not making any money. And so what the People's National Movement had attempted to do was lease the refinery. And the last organization that would have had interest in that is a company from Nigeria called Owando PLC. But that decision to sort of close the doors to Petrotrin and rebrand and create heritage and paria, that created a significant amount of job losses. And so what Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar is saying is that she intends to revitalize that sector, restart the refinery, and reopen negotiations with the Oilfield Workers Trade Union that would have expressed an interest in owning the refinery so that the workers will own it and the workers will operate it. But it's left to be seen because that is threatening to raise Trinidad and Tobago's expenditure once again, something that former finance ministers under the People's National Movement indicated could have sent us to the International Monetary Fund. So among other decisions like repealing taxes and those sorts of things. So it's left to be seen. But I'll tell you, yesterday was May Day, and they were saying, even prior to May Day, that a victory for the UNC was a victory for the working class people in Trinidad and Tobago, and they are happy to resume negotiations on the Petrotrin refinery. So we will see.
We will see indeed. Patrice, it's been fantastic. I mean, Patrice, Darius. It's been so fantastic spending this. Yes, started spending time with you at the start of my morning here on Morning Barbados. You have been fantastic as always. Before I let you go, I have my riddle for you. So you ready?
Oh, Pearson. I thought I got away with the cat having 9 lives.
No, listen. What do the numbers 11, 69, and 88 have in common? What do the numbers 11, 69, and 88 all have in common? This is easy, Darius. This is easy. What do they all have in common? I am ashamed of you. Darius, tell me.
They all read the same way when placed upside down.
Yes! There you go. See how easy that is? Well done. She got one right. Finally, indeed. Darius, as always, thank you so much for spending time and all the information you've shared with us. We are grateful for it indeed. And of course, my invitation to you always is to stay in contact. Stay in contact with us. Have a fantastic Friday, okay?
Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Darius Polo, senior reporter with Guardian Media Limited on the politics beat and just updating us on what's happened since the general elections and since the appointment of Penelope Beckles as opposition leader and since the swearing in of Kamla Prasad-Bissessar as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. We're taking a break. We're coming back in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
God will not give you a job. God will not call you to do something and then not give you the capacity to have it, to make it happen. He will give you the resources. He'll give you the people. Not only will he equip you with ideas, but he will equip you with favor, as he did Nehemiah.
Turn on the latest episode of Infinite Possibilities, only on CBC TV8, every Sunday at 1:30 p.m., sponsored by Covenant Life Teaching Center.
Welcome to Nature's Discount, the ultimate health food store. At Nature's Discount, we have thousands of quality products.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
28 minutes now to 7 o'clock, and as I told you at the beginning of the show, we are just days away from the children of Barbados who are at 11 years or just younger, heading into the examination room for the 11 plus. Don't get scared. This is the final weekend before. Don't get scared. Just get prepared. And so Margaret Grant has been helping us, the caretakers and the parents, also become prepared as the children become equally prepared. Margaret Grant is a counselor. She's also an educator. Margaret, good morning to you.
Good morning.
As always, wonderful having you company, Margaret. Now, these are just the last few days before the 11 plus exam. It's the weekend before. And so, with all nerves aside, should I just let the boys go outside and play, the girls as well?
I think that there's room for that.
Okay.
There's definitely room for that. If we look at it from home and then inside the house, outside the house. So let me start with one, making sure that they have all the materials that they need. They're going to need some stationery for Tuesday.
Right.
And we would want that if the parents don't have that yet, that this weekend will be the time that they make sure they have those pencils. I would recommend 4 to 5 pencils, because if a pencil breaks, if a point breaks,
right,
you don't want to spend time sharpening. So you just need to put that aside and pick up another one. Okay, they can take a sharpener, yes, and then maybe at lunchtime they can sharpen if any needs to be sharpened. But definitely 4 to 5 pencils, an eraser, no whiteout. They would only be using pencils, they would not be using pens, so no whiteout will be required. A ruler, and when they have they can have a pencil case to put it in, but it must be transparent. Or if they have a big folder to put it in, some people do that as well. They give them a folder that they can put all those things in. What they also need to take would be that slip that they will get from their school, which will contain their candidate number and all that information that they're going to need for the front page. Okay, so all of that can be placed inside the folder, the bookcase or the pencil case, and the child will be ready. Yeah.
Right.
If there's any medication, any child who has to take medication, that medication should be labeled, and the school should be notified. Yes, the school should be notified, so that if they have to take it during the session or whatever, that will be already put in place. Any asthmatics, make sure they take the inhalers, etc. Okay. We want to ensure that our children are adequately prepared. And this weekend will be a good weekend to make sure that those things are put together and just put aside.
You're right. And double check. Just double check yourselves, folks, parents as well. Double check to ensure. Don't wait until the last minute. The other part for me is on the morning Tuesday, and making sure the child remains calm by getting the child to the examination center early and not rushing at the last minute.
That is critical, because sometimes some children turn up late and obviously in a state of franticness. They might be frantic, all tense up, because if the exam has started, they're not going to get any extra time. So parents, I would suggest too that during this weekend, If they don't know where the school is, because these children will be going to secondary schools to take the exam,
Right.
and therefore for some of them it would be an unfamiliar location, I would suggest that they can take the child there this weekend, just pass through. Let them get an idea of the feel for it, what it looks like, etc. So on Tuesday morning, everything will not be that fresh. But, and also if the child has to take the bus, obviously it's a different school the child has to go to, they may have to take the bus. They need to know the bus route, they need to know how to get there. Some children, and also parents, need to organize transportation. If they themselves can't take the child, well, then make sure there's some auntie, uncle, friend, neighbor, somebody who would take the child there, because one, it is an unfamiliar location, and if the child has to catch the bus, then they need to know which bus to catch. They need to know how long it might take to get there, so that they can get to the exam center about 30 minutes before. If they get 30 minutes before, 15 minutes before, they can settle themselves, they can go to the bathroom, they can just chat with their friends, etc.
Right.
And, feel comfortable and calm.
What's the kind of conversation I should be having with the child today and this weekend? Because,
this weekend, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, this weekend should be more like winding down. Yes, because the tensions have been all up there. So this weekend is more like winding down, doing some gratitude talks. Let's look back, do some reflection. Where have you come from? Look at where the child has moved from, how the progression has been made, and really give some compliments, some praise about the journey. They can laugh at some of the challenges that they had, some of the bleeps and blunders, but then they can also just look at the progress that has been made and recognizing that, a lot has been covered. Look at the effort that the child has put in. Look at what they sacrifice, even sometimes without being told, and how dedicated they became to their studies. So this can really be like a walk back, look back through that path and see what has been done. And as you reflect, you give thanks to God for bringing them through, and then to look at those persons who poured into the progress of the child as well, and give some thanks and praise to those persons. Also, you can look at the whole thing about where you're at, doing things together. I would suggest get out of the house. Get out of the house together. Go for some walks, what I would call mindful walking. And when we talk about mindful walking, this is best done at the beach, where you can just walk on the sand and you're focusing on the sounds and the sights. There are no cars, no carbon monoxide to get into your nostrils, but just the breaking of the waves, the sounding of the waves, and you're walking on that sand and you're feeling the sand permeating, just going through your toes and just blending and meshing with each step, and the water just coming up and washing. I mean, this is soothing. This will be soothing. And then just also to take in the negative ions from the beach, which will also help to calm them, help to release any stress, etc. So mindful walking can be done at the beach. If you have any gardens, any nature, anything with nature, this weekend will be a good place to take a good nature trail, a good walk among nature. Just feel the energy and release any stress and tension.
How do you identify that the child is nervous? Sometimes it's not natural to the eye, but the child somehow always sends signals that they're not quite comfortable with their readiness. How can one identify that?
The child might want to do some extra work. You might find them wanting to do extra work, last minute cramming. Because for some children, it might not wake up to them, hey, exam is on Tuesday.
Yes.
Hey, I don't know a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And therefore, they might find that frantic desire to get a lot of things done. This is not the time for any cramming. I do not recommend cramming at any level. And therefore, I would think that this weekend, what should be done instead of cramming will be to, and this is where the parent has to be observant. They know their children. They know what is normal behavior from what is not normal behavior. And therefore, if they recognize that the child is into doing extra work and not sticking to the routine that we would have recommended before, this is a time when they can actually ask for that step back, because the cramming is not going to really help. It's going to disturb everything else that they have been doing all along. And therefore, that extra cramming, rather than cram, what I would suggest is that the parents can do some virtual meetings. They can get a few of their friends together, create a meeting. It could be on Google, it could be on Zoom, it could be on Teams, but create a virtual meeting where about 3, 4, 5 of their friends can come together and they can just do some exercises together. Parents not involved. This is the children's thing at this point, because they're going to make it fun, they're going to make it practical, they're going to make it even a learning exercise. So this is where, rather than cramming, you have that teamwork, and you'll find that in this setting, children will tend to learn better because the comfort level is there, the camaraderie of their friends that is there as well, and there's not that pressure. Okay, so that is one way of releasing any nervousness that the child might have. And they will have that encouragement also from their peers. So I would suggest that they do some virtual meetings and they can just decide how much time they will spend. They don't have to spend long. I remember you recommended the Pomodoro technique.
Right.
They can do 25 minutes, take a break, another 25, especially if it's digital, this will be worthwhile. 25 minutes, take a break, a 5-minute break, another 25 minutes, another 5-minute break, another 25 minutes. And when they're taking the break, they're not going on their phone.
Right.
They're going to get a stretch. Stretch those muscles. Do some stretching. Get a snack or something. But the important thing is to make sure that you stay on task. And then for the 4th round, they go back for another 25 minutes, and then they can take about a half-hour break. Yes, but one of the things I would also recommend that I know Barbados, we do not do the Caribbean primary exit assessment, and therefore I would suggest that they can, actually go on that website, CPEA, and look at some past papers with the answers, right? With the answers.
And double
so
check
they can
themselves.
actually help themselves. And this is one where as a team, as a group of students now, all with the same purpose, the same mind, they are going to now go through. And it has the grammar, everything set out. You have grammar, you have English, you have mathematics, they have social studies, and they also have science. So students can actually do the English and the math, and they will have the answers popping up right away, so that they can show them what is right and what is wrong. And they also give them explain where the reason
How you
for the
arrived at that
wrong
answer.
etc. So
Margaret,
that I feel.
Don't go anywhere. I'm coming back at you, okay? But I need to take a break. We'll continue preparing our children for the 11 plus exam, which happens on Tuesday. But there's so many things available that we can do to ease it for them and get them totally ready indeed for Tuesday's exam. Back in a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you do.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're engaged right now with Margaret Grant, who is an educator and also a guidance counselor, helping us to be able to help you get yourself and your child ready for Tuesday's Common Entrance Examination. And so we continue that conversation now. I liked where you ended, Margaret, because that I didn't know that website existed, CPEA. And that gives them a practical guide as to how to complete the exam as well, and to double check their learning. And it's not the time for the parent also to say, but you got that wrong, you got that wrong, you're doing all this time. It's not the time to be able to do so at all. I think part of our challenge as adults and parents is that we want to live our lives through our children's performance.
True. Mm-hmm.
That
is true. And I think that we just have to look for different ways in which to really, we can impress our children in so many different ways. We can impact our children in so many different ways. And it does not have to be an aggressive way all the time. In fact, it should never be an aggressive way. It should always be in some way that is compassionate and empathetic. And I think if parents can just put themselves in the situation where they put themselves in the position of the child, they would recommend that, they would realize that at this time, there's no time for that extra pressure, because naturally the child will feel pressured. That pressure will be there naturally. Anytime we have to face exams, anytime we have to face anything that is stressful, extra stressful, we do feel nervous, and therefore it is normal. Now, if the child complains though of like headaches, they don't normally have headaches, but suddenly now, all weekend they have headaches, all weekend they have stomach aches, all weekend they're eating or not eating, they're sleeping or not sleeping, those are red flags, and therefore the parent need to at least get some kind of help for the child. The child might just need a little counseling, a little talk therapy to help them to relax. Or the parents, who knows, the parent need to ask themselves, is this child mirroring what I am demonstrating or displaying? And therefore, as I said before, parents need to step back emotionally as well as physically. But at the same time, drawing closer and embracing the child, recognizing that they are with the child. At this time, the child needs to know that the parent is there for them and with them. They need that parental support. And this is where I also say that parental support at this time is like oxygen. It's the oxygen that children need to get through this. Because I want parents to recognize too, let the children realize that this is just another exam.
That's all.
It is similar to all the other exams that they had before for the last 2 years, and therefore this is just another exam. It is not a life or death situation. So sometimes some parents have some fears. Will my child get into a good school?
Yes.
And I want parents to get out of this habit of emphasizing good school or bad school. The school is as good as the child makes it. The school is as good as the teachers makes it. The school teacher make it. The school is as good as the principals make it. The school is as good as the parents make it. So really and truly, it is an all-round support that is necessary. So try to encourage the children. And I realize that children will go to any school. If you ask children right now, they know which school they want to go to.
Yes, they do.
And therefore, pushing the child to tell them, this weekend is not the time for you to be telling the child, make sure you pass for this school, because everybody in this family went to that school.
Yes.
And this is the tradition of this family. Don't break it now. Now that's extra pressure that is unnecessary. Because the child is going to go into that exam thinking, I cannot disappoint. When the child should be going into that exam saying, I am successful.
Yeah, I will do my best because I know I'm prepared to do so. But you know, but how does that parent not display it? Because the nerves also in that stomach of that parent is bursting, and you're walking through the house and you see the child playing games and you're thinking, why can't you use your time otherwise to get yourself ready for the common interest exam? How does that parent really rein themselves in and not unleash onto that child their own fears and concerns? Take a deep breath.
Sometimes it is best to let somebody else do it. If you have, and this is where I suggested the virtual meetings, because when children are with children, they teach each other so many different things and in a quick way. And this is where an auntie or an uncle or a neighbor can come over, and you would find that you will speak to your child one way, You'll be telling them one thing for years.
Mm-hmm.
And the neighbor or somebody that they respect will tell them the same thing. And you will see a 360 degree.
Yes.
And what is that? Look at the tone. What kind of message are you sending when you shout? What kind of message are you sending when you're in this militant mood? And that is where the child will pick it up. The child will pick up the tone, and the tone will also demonstrate the type of emotion that you are experiencing. So parents, I think if parents could do that step back and do that reflection, that internal reflection, and really ask themselves, look in the mirror, look at yourself. Do you see any stress in your face? Do you find that you are biting your nails? You can't eat properly, you can't settle down? I would tell you, when my son did the common entrance, there was a lady who went off to work. And in total, she was back down there. And she said, I can't work. So I'm there sitting down at the desk, and the sweat is pouring off my face.
Wow.
And my boss tell me, look, you're no use about here. And the thing is, that is really extreme, because when the child got back the results, the child got like in the 20s. And her expectation of that child that he would go to a top school, get it in the 90s. So that was real unrealistic for her.
Yes.
So no wonder she could not work. No wonder the sweat was pouring down. And this is where parents have to ask themselves, are my expectations too high?
Yeah.
Are they unrealistic? Do I really know my child? And have I been walking and working with my child so that whatever my child does, I'm thankful for? And that's the conversation that parents have to share with their child this weekend. You know, you've worked hard. We have done some work together. I have noticed, those are messages.
Yes.
I have noticed the amount of work you have put in. I have noticed your dedication. I have noticed your sacrifices. And then the parent can also promise something, you know, after the exam, you're just going to go somewhere and relax. You don't have to break the bank.
That's true.
Just go somewhere and relax. Do something that will bring forth some form of like closure to the whole exercise, a happy closure. Bring down the curtain now in a jovial way, in a relaxing way, in a way of where there's high achievement.
Yes.
Because you do not have to wait for the results to praise the child. You don't have to wait for the results to be proud of your child. So whatever the fact that child went to that exam and they were able to complete it, that is something to be grateful for.
Yeah. Let's talk about that thing that happens often where all the while one parent might have been taking the child to school, or the child went to school on its own, but suddenly on the common interest day, both parents are there, aunts and uncles, everybody's there, descended on the whole thing, which creates for that child, to my mind, in their head, a totally different scenario for them to manage. So the excitement or the anxiety changes at that point, don't you think? And what should us as parents and adults do to avoid that?
It might change, but really and truly, if you ever look at on that morning of the common entrance exam, if we had to take blood pressure, the children would be normal and the parents' blood pressure would be high in the sky. When you look at children nowadays, I find that children, they like the experience. I think they like the experience of seeing friends and being in a different location, being in a secondary school, and they know that this is the end. So children are usually very excited. And having both parents there, for some children that might be double security. That sense of knowing that I have two people behind me. I have two great cheerleaders. The person might not have been there before, but if they turn up at that day, once the relationship is good, you know, I think that would be a good sign. But let that not be the first and last.
Indeed.
Let that be the beginning of things to come.
And that's the point, because sometimes for the child, it's the first. where both of them turned up at the same time, you know, both feeling very proud. This is my youngster who's going into the 11 plus examination room, and I want to be there to mark my territory. And so you want to caution parents, because for a child that can also be adding to their anxiety in a negative way. But if you're there to show support, and because the child recognizes and is grateful for your support, well done. We encourage you to be able to do so.
Yes. And if you know that you don't have a good relationship with the child, if you know that the child does not really embrace you for one reason or other, it will be best not to turn up.
Yeah.
Because that will cause more distraught than anything else. Because rather than embracing you, the child might be, "We come here for?" You understand? And you don't want that kind of tension or stress to develop in the child. That morning is critical, and let's keep it. If you want to turn up at the end.
Yes.
Where you can see the child after the exam, and you can then support that child in doing something that is fun, something that demonstrates that you are interested in their well-being, that you're interested in what they have achieved so far.
And for me, the examination room is a quiet zone. A lot of times people bring their drama. And whilst you're at the gate, nonetheless, the child feels your drama across the distance. So to be mindful and respectful of the space, I think, will be important.
Yes. And usually now, secondary schools do not really allow them in
beyond the gate.
You know, close proximity to where the child is. Some of them have to remain on the outside. And really and truly, I experience, you know, what is your purpose for being there? I know some parents might walk with lunch for the child, and on that topic now, I would suggest no picnic baskets, you know.
Yes.
Just give the child a light lunch, because the break for lunch is not that long. But and even if it was long, you don't want the child to be using the whole time eating. So you don't want all the heavy stuff. Some light sandwiches, things that the child have been eating before. Don't introduce anything new on that day. And even before they leave home, don't pack them up and say, "Hey, you have a long day ahead of you, and therefore the tank has to be full." You know?
That's what we do.
So, I mean, it is. So many things happen.
Yes.
You know, and then some parents will give the children things that they don't normally eat.
So true.
That is not the time to be testing out new recipes, or just make sure you'll be giving the child what they have been eating. We talked about healthy routines before, where we talked about nutrition, and therefore all now on Tuesday, they should be getting something that they are accustomed to.
Right.
And in our previous session, we had said, every Tuesday, if they could be eating the same thing, so that on Tuesday morning now, it would be no different.
Right.
Right? So just make sure that the meals are light, but at the same time nutritious. So fruits, some salads, if the child is accustomed to eating salads, some drink, some water. Water is critical, yes. And also some, you know, some light sandwiches or things that they can, you
just
know,
to hold them for the period of time. Let's quickly go through that checklist again. About 5 sharpened pencils, ready to write, an eraser,
sharpener,
ruler,
an eraser, ruler.
All of these placed in
a transparent bag. It must be transparent. So even if it was, you know, those freezer storage bags.
Yes.
Even if it was one of those, that's fine, but it must be transparent.
Right.
It could be a folder if that's transparent, or it could be a pencil case, but make sure it's transparent. Obviously, no cell phones.
Right.
No calculators are necessary. So, and some parents give children clipboards. Clipboards, you don't necessarily need a clipboard.
Because they have their desks right on.
Yes, because they usually get a packaged, a booklet.
Okay.
Yes, the exam is usually in a booklet form, so you don't really need the clipboard.
And of course,
and I'm sure the secondary schools will make sure that the best desks are placed so that with a smooth,
even surface. And if a child is on medication, make sure that you inform the authorities about the fact that the child may need at some point to have medication taken during the examination, and let them facilitate that with you. Margaret Grant.
And those children who normally who might have like a learning challenge, by now the schools would know
Who needs
that they would need the
assistance?
extra time. All that information should have been passed on to the ministry long ago. So therefore, those children will get the extra time, etc.
Good. So we're all ready for Tuesday. Thank you, Margaret Grant. As always, good
You're
hearing
welcome.
from you.
Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Indeed. Morning Barbados comes right back right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
The Ministry of Youth Sports and Community Empowerment's Bridges television series is back. Join us every Wednesday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Saturdays at 5:30 p.m. on CBC TV 8. Don't you miss it.
God will not give you a job. God will not call you to do something and then not give you the capacity to have it, to make it happen. He will give you the resources. He'll give you the people. Not only will he equip you with ideas, but he will equip you with favor, as he did Nehemiah.
Turn on the latest episode of Infinite Possibilities, only on CBC TV 8, every Sunday at 1:30 p.m., sponsored by Covenant Life Teaching.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
2 minutes past the hour now. Let's take a look at news. Good news for minimum wage workers. From the 1st of June, the national minimum wage will be increased. That announcement was made by Minister of Labour, Social Security and the Third Sector, Colin Jordan, at the Barbados Workers Union's May Day celebrations at Poolwoods in St. John yesterday. He says this will allow citizens to keep pace with rising prices.
So that those at the very bottom, those who work hard but are at the bottom of the earning level, will have an opportunity to have their wages raised to a level that allows them to keep pace with rising prices. And so the order the draft order that you've seen publicized will indicate to you that that minimum wage will move from $8.50 to $10.50. A significant increase in the national minimum wage, and the sectoral rate for security officers will also increase by a similar percentage.
Minister Jordan says government is working with trade unions to ensure that work in Barbados is recognized as something of value.
That workers are recognized as human beings first and as valuable in the process of building Barbados. We intend to make sure that all the tools that are necessary to allow you to produce at your maximum, all of the protections that allow you to produce at your maximum are in place. Because we believe that protection and production must go together. There will be no production if there's no protection.
Meanwhile, issues have arisen again despite a recent landmark agreement for KFC workers that was expected to be significantly improving wages, working conditions and job security. General Secretary Tony Moore raised her concerns during that May Day celebration. She accused KFC of undermining the agreement.
4 weeks after we had those wins, the first thing KFC did was pull away the monthly meal allowance from the workers. I see some KFC workers up front. A monthly meal allowance would allow them to buy a thrift box or a bucket or a barrel for 50% of the cost. KFC pull on that. We didn't keep any noise about it. because although it is in the collective agreement, and although therefore it represented a breach, we determined that until the Ministry of Labour, through its health and safety arm, could convince us that the conditions at KFC were safe for us to eat from anyway, that we were not going to make noise over food.
The General Secretary is also raising concerns that KFC's management has stopped uncertified sick days for workers.
In the collective agreement, it says that workers are entitled to 6 days pay on certified leave. KFC pulled on that. That is when we decided we can't end about looking licorice over food now. It is serious because these are fundamental provisions. So on the 7th of April, the Barbados Workers Union wrote to the company indicating that it was in breach and asking it to correct the breach, and it was copied to the Labour Department.
Young people were the focus of the candidates in the upcoming St. James North by-election. Barbados Labour Party candidate and Minister of Educational Transformation, Senator Chad Blackman, before venturing into the hustings, was at the opening of the St. James North Tech Club. Opposition Democratic Labour Party's candidate Felicia Dujon says she has a program for the young men in the constituency. While Trevor Thorpe caught up with the candidates in Trent's St. James and he filed this report.
The future of the labour market is technology, and the key is to catch them young. That was the message from the Barbados Labour Party's candidate for St. James North, Senator Chad Blackman, as he delivered remarks at the opening of the St. James North Tech Club at the Gordon Greenwich Primary School before going on the campaign trail. And with the support of his cabinet colleagues led by Deputy Prime Minister Santia Bradshaw and Ministers Kerry Simmons, Wilfred Abrams and Lisa Cummins, he said Barbados could be the Silicon Valley of the Caribbean.
My campaign is simply this: creating opportunities for our people. And this, of course, is part of that strategy, and it's part of the Labour Party strategy and philosophy that we have to create a better life for our people.
The Tech Club is a long-term investment in the youth of St. James and could also become the tech hub of Barbados.
Every month, our children will meet across the constituency, looking at areas of robotics, coding, artificial intelligence, and weaving that into their day-to-day lives and helping them to understand how do we move forward. Barbados will be competitive if we can start our kids at an early age, but also not just in the clubs, but of course in the schools already we're working with robotics and coding. And part of the transformation of curriculum has to also ensure that at the secondary level and post-secondary level, our people can now create modes of technology that can help.
Meanwhile, at Trent, the Democratic Labour Party's candidate, Felicia Dujon, revealed she has a plan for the constituency if successful later this month. She had the support of opposition leader Ralph Thorne and other party colleagues.
My first call of duty is to go through the constituencies and make sure that the debushing is done, to implement some programs for the young men. They need that. I believe that we also have to look at the community center that has been closed for many years in Western. These are matters that concerns people. We cannot have an area where people cannot get to develop themselves, to empower themselves.
Mr. Jones said the constituency had been neglected for 15 years and she's gathering support to correct the ills of the past.
The government in itself, the Barbados Labour Party, they should have done better for the people, the constituents on St. James North. They should have done better. And I think because of that, when I come to the constituency now, they're saying, well, all politicians are the same. But I have not been the same politician in the last 15 years. So I'm coming to present myself and to gather the support that is needed to raise their voices in Parliament.
The two candidates will face each other in a by-election on May 21st after nomination day next Tuesday. Trevor Thorpe, CBC News.
Barbadians will soon be able to benefit from a new program called the Future Spaces Program, an initiative of the Division of Culture. Minister in the Prime Minister's Office with responsibility for culture, Senator Dr. Chantal Munro-Knight, says it will soon be rolled out, and those parishes that have already hosted their leg of the regathering exercise for 2025 will also benefit from the program. She was speaking at the regathering 2025 handover ceremony from St. Joseph to St. John.
We will be able in each parish to look at establishing particular community monuments or develop specific spaces that will be dedicated either to community actors or actions that are important.
Senator Dr. Monroe Knight says one of the initiatives under the program is a joint initiative with the Barbados Police Service and the National Cultural Foundation.
We will be taking all of the metal from destroyed and confiscated weapons, guns, and we've already had some discussions with the Barbados Police Force to create art, community art. So we will be taking weapons that were used for activities, that are not about upliftment, involved in crime and murder. And once those are destroyed, we will be saying to communities here, what will you leave with this?
Chief Executive Officer of the Export Barbados BIDC, Mark Hill, says the embrace of Industry 4.0 is a necessary and critical step for Barbados. Industry 4.0, also known as the Fourth Industrial Revolution, represents the digitization of manufacturing and industrial processes. Mr. Hill says industry and industrialization are Barbados' economic core.
As we learn from COVID, when we have external shocks depending exclusively upon services, particularly tourism as a service, what happens? You had that 40% impact on your economy and everything got spread out. But guess what happened during COVID? Industry still remained vital because we still needed the goods and the services that were being produced by the factories. And the factories became critical for us remaining sane during COVID.
The name Carissa Etienne will forever be associated with public health emergency response in the CARICOM, following the naming of a Pan-American Health Organization's Emergency Operations Center in her honor. The center, located at PAHO's Darrows Road Christchurch office, was officially christened the Carissa F. Etienne Emergency Operations Center during an inauguration ceremony. It is expected to function as a centralized location for the coordination and control of health-related emergency response activities for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. The former Dominican director died of a heart attack in December 2024, shortly after retiring. Barbados Minister of Health, Senator the Most Honorable Dr. Jerome Walcott, is confident the facility will strengthen disaster management and health emergency responses throughout the region. All right, we're going to take a break here. We're coming right back in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Welcome to Nature's Discount, the ultimate health food store. At Nature's Discount, we have thousands of quality products at great prices.
Hi guys, Dottie here with Nature's Discount, and today we are talking about Solar Ray Microbiome Probiotics and why you should be taking them.
And we have well over 3,000 amazing products to help you get healthy.
For your health tips, tune in to CBC TV 8 every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday for Nature's Discount, sponsored by Get Healthy Incorporated.
Week after week, Scold presents exciting reports and documentaries on the most varied topics of our time. Spectacular developments and innovations, lifestyle and trends of tomorrow, mobility and tourism, health news, highlights from art and culture. Each contribution grabs the viewer with extraordinary images and stories and takes him into fascinating worlds which he experiences.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
14 and a half minutes after 7 o'clock. You know there's a hymn that goes, "Shall we gather at the river?" The beautiful river. Well, we're gathering at the Standpipe. For more Standpipe stories, as you know, the gathering is on, and so we're going parish to parish, moment by moment, and we are gathering around the Standpipe to share our stories. And best of all, we're gathering our content and we're creating products out of it indeed. And so joining me this morning as we continue to look at what's happening in St. John is I keep calling you Doctor, I don't know why you do it all the time. Henderson Carter.
Yes.
Dr. Henderson Carter, Senior Lecturer and Head of the Department of History and Philosophy at the UWI KFL campus. He's written that book, Today in Bajan History.
Yes.
And you're working on another book, right?
Volume 2 is coming.
Cheese all bread. Workbread churned out at the UWI. Good to see you again, sir.
Good to see you too.
I'm not going to bring up that story again for you to cause you concern when you go back to the office, I promise.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
And he's with him, Kevin Farmer, who is the Deputy Director of the Barbados Museum and Historical Society. Kevin, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Wilson.
Good seeing
Morning,
you
Barbados.
again as well.
Same.
All right. Standpipe stories. Their relevance, sometimes they're irrelevance, because sometimes the most irrelevant story has a genesis in something. And so let's talk a little bit about what this exercise coming up tomorrow could very well mean for the people of St. John.
Yes, thanks, Pearson. Tomorrow we meet at the historic St. John Parish Church. And between 4 and 6, Kevin Farmer here will give a talk at the standpipe. And after that talk, people in the community, from the community, will get to say their stories and give their stories. So Kevin will be talking about the parish and what the parish gives us, the history, the stories, and there's some beautiful stories, really exciting stories about the parish. There's a story of an enslaved African who rebuilt St. John's Parish Church after it was blown down by the great hurricane of 1831. That man, Adam Straw Waterman, rebuilt the church and then went down to another part of St. John called Kendall and built Kendall's sugar factory. We're talking about those stories. Then we have stories of prominent black people of St. John. People like Charles Miller Austin, the first black man that I know of to own a large plantation, that plantation called Malvern. And I don't think many people realize, but he is the grandfather of Sir Harold Bernard St. John. Yeah.
Wow.
So we have the stories of prominent individuals. So when people come out tomorrow, they will hear about the history, they will hear about the stories, and these stories are uplifting stories. They're not only heartman stories, but they're uplifting stories. They tell us about struggle, they tell us about resilience and perseverance and success of these people. So it should really inspire youngsters. It should really inspire families to do the things that Adam Straw Waterman did and Miller Austin and those people. So it will be a treat, I'm sure.
I'm sure. I'm already feeling and tasting the street indeed. It happens at St. John Parish Church tomorrow at 4 in the afternoon. Couple hours, Kevin will be on stage talking. And it's in the church itself?
In the church
in
itself.
the church itself. All right. So
In the
don't
church,
stand up outside and wonder where everybody is. They're in the church. That's where it's going to be happening. So Kevin, you're looking forward to this, no doubt.
Oh, I'm definitely looking forward to this.
I mean, the last time I saw you, it was in St. John at Codgerton College.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Yeah, see, there now. You see, you get it forgetful, Kevin.
Well, lots of things to remember.
Lots of things to remember, but lots of things to remember we hear the standpipe stories as well, because
definitely.
it triggers all of that. So what
It
kinds
is.
of other stories are you going to share with us?
To remind people that when we talk about St. John, we talk about a parish that is 8,000 plus acres. It has the only safe anchorage on the entire eastern coastline of Barbados, and that is Concept Point.
Ah.
The only one. Imagine that.
Whoa.
The only one. So once you pass Oistins till you get around to Maycock's Bay to Spikestown, the only safe anchorage is Concept Bay. And what did that bring? We'll talk about that.
She's already. He has me on the cliff edge. Okay, we'll talk about that tomorrow.
That's
Okay.
one story. The other are, we always see St. John and we see Barbados is all sugar plantations, but there are also indigo plantations in St. John. So we're going to talk about where they were and wondering if anyone has any memory of that, and even some of the place names that we use in the area as well. And of course, the other important thing that we don't remember, given your earlier talk about exams, is that really the seat of education and the seat of learning, when you look at its development in Barbados, comes out of St. John. It comes out of the fact that the Royal Institute, which taught people how to be teachers, was situated at Codgerton College. It talks about the fact that 1875, Cosmopolitan College was the only degree granting institution in the entirety of the British West Indies at that time. And that ended in 1965 because of the development of the University College of the West Indies in 66. So it's amazing stories like that. And yes, we'll talk about those prominent people, but we also then speak about people that we've never heard about.
Drop one name.
And I'm going to drop a name. I can drop an industry. Fishing.
In fishing?
In fishing. I'm going to drop an industry. Just leave it there. In fishing. and then for those people from St. John, one of the better jokes of John of St. John, and we will talk about John of St. John.
Folks, we've got to be there tomorrow from 4 in the St. John Parish Church, indeed. Which in itself, as you just heard from Dr. Henderson Carter, is historic because it was built by this one African slave. One man? Or he and a team of...
Well, I suspect he had a team, but he was the leading stonemason. And when he died in 1887, he was born in St. George, but he worked all over the place. And when he died, they gave him a good write-up in the Agricultural Reporter, the newspaper of the day. And of course, he's buried in St. George Parish Church, buried to the front of the church. And that's an important achievement, to be buried at the front of the church in the 1880s. This man, Adam Straw Waterman.
When you say the front of the church, that's the one with the big car park, the area there, or the other part?
The big car park.
At the front?
At the front.
If I go now, I should see some
You go
sign?
into the left, you go in, you turn to the left, and you'll see the plaque.
I am looking
Adam
for it.
Straw Waterman.
I shall look for it.
And you know, he's the only black man who built a sugar factory for himself.
Wow.
And that sugar factory is in Greens in St. George. If you go down through Greens, going towards Draxall, you see the windmill to the left. That is the factory that he built. He was also a member of the St. George's Parish Vestry. So we're talking.
He had wealth.
Oh yes. And he was born enslaved, enslaved man.
That's it.
In 1803. And I believe he got his freedom around 1834. That is after he would have built the church at, rebuilt the church at St. John.
You know, my producer's asking me in the area, you know, what's the name of the gentleman again?
Adam Straw Waterman.
Adam Straw, S-T-R-A-W.
Yes.
Waterman, you know how to spell it yourself.
Yes.
And so that's the plaque that we all go to look for. We shall all follow your story as given to us.
And that you can see it online. If you were to Google Adam Straw Waterman, you'll see the plaque online. Oh, yes.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Work it out for me, gentlemen in the back. Let's see if we can show the audience what we're talking about here. And that's it, because oftentimes we live in spaces and places, Dr. Kevin, where we don't even know our history.
We don't. And Standpipe Stories is a fantastic way for us to learn our stories and actually learn it at that local parish level. So I'm really looking forward to the people of St. John coming to share their stories. Because invariably, you only write the history that has been written down.
Yes.
We have so much history in our head. There's so many stories that we carry about every single day that we don't share. And I'm hoping that this begins that conversation of sharing. We're still very much oral tradition, and I want some of that orality to come out, and I want it to be recorded, so that 50 years from now, when someone else is there, and we're still doing Standpipe Stories, here are the other stories that we've added to the flow. And I think that becomes critically important for us as a people. To be grounded, we need to know ourselves, and we need to understand our history, and where we came from, and understand the resilience of the community in which we are from.
So listen, if you're a waterman, come and learn something about your family here. Come and share with us. Look, here it is, folks.
That's it.
There it is. Adam Straw Waterman, a great Barbadian, 1803 to 1887, born into slavery, set free as a young man and apprenticed to a mason. He developed great skills as a builder and a reputation for his sensitive work with sawn coral stone. St. John's Church, rebuilt in 1836, is one of his outstanding works. And so you can see it there for yourself. Go read. And that's the whole thing. I think even at St. John Parish Church, the tombs, I said on the show, and everyone thought it was so morbid, I love a graveyard. I love reading those headstones and reading about people and then imagining for just a moment what life must have been like. And then being able to be grateful for their contribution to my life
Of
as
course,
well.
yes.
And I'm sure that you're going to be exploring the graveyard as well.
Oh, I will. In fact, I'm gonna reference someone who taught many of us, Trevor Marshall. So Trevor Marshall and Karen Walks have an article in one of the museum's journals talking specifically about the churchyard at St. John's. Amazing, because the sheer, what we will call iconography in that churchyard is not replicated in a lot of other churchyards.
Learn that word, iconography.
Iconography,
Got
yes.
you.
They're called, the fancy word is monumental inscription. So what we just saw was a monumental inscription.
Got you.
But in terms of plaques and mausoleums, the sheer frequency and abundance in that churchyard, 100 by 100 meters, no, 100 feet by 100 feet, is simply amazing. You know, on the escarpment of the second cliff line, overlooking our east coast. That is a setting for St. John's Parish Church, and our understanding of what that amazing parish is all about.
Listen, folks, we're going to take a break here, gentlemen. We're coming back with you.
No problem.
26 minutes after 7, more of this. And remember, we're getting ready for tomorrow's Standpipe Stories at St. John Parish Church beginning at 4 in the afternoon. Back in just a moment with more.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
28 minutes after 7 o'clock, and boy, are we having a good time just reliving our history, understanding our history, being connected to our history, because sometimes we become so disconnected. We drive by, we say, oh, well, and then when someone tells us about our history, the bobs go on, and we want to know a lot more. We want to know a whole lot more tomorrow in the Standpipe Stories as told by Dr. Kevin Farr. I call you your daughter, right? No. Not yet. I so crown you just now. But Kevin Farmer, he's going to be he's doing a feature presentation tomorrow at St. John Parish Church from 4 in the afternoon. And then we shall all gather around the standpipe with him as he shares a lot more about the history of St. John. And we share with him and Dr. Henderson Carter more of our stories that have not yet been written. And we did share with you a story just now about the man who rebuilt St. John Parish Church, that slave. You want to know a little bit more about him? Take a look at this picture right now and tell me if you've ever seen this anywhere. Seriously, have you ever seen this anywhere? And if you have, where did you see it? And when you saw that, what did it mean to you? Because I'm sure you just saw a name and you're saying to yourself, oh, well, I was a Waterman, I don't know him, so what? But now you know Adam Straw Waterman himself, an African slave who, by his own hard work and just determination, rebuilt the St. John Parish Church. He went on to do some other chapels, but he also built a plantation. And so that was
Kendall Plantation in the parish of St. John.
Kendall Plantation in the parish of St. John. And Kevin, you said to us, that is symbolic because it means something about what he was able to do.
No, yes, about what he was able to do, and the fact that so many formerly enslaved people built things. A lot of their apprenticeship was in artisanship, but we don't know them. But here, he has been able to not only build, but to sign his name. So in perpetuity, whenever you pass that plaque, you'll see his name. And what we'll try to add tomorrow is who this person was.
Yes.
And that becomes critically important. So when we look around this country, historically, presently, this is a country that we built. This is a country that we built. And we often forget that. So when people say, oh, that's an old thing. Yes, it might be old, but who built it?
Yeah.
Not what it was built for, but who built it. The skill and the craftsmanship. The ability to look at fixed limestone and decide, I'm going to take it from that side of the quarry, and I'm going to burn some limestone to make a mortar and put them together, and I'm going to build that. And we've got fantastic structures on this island like that. One of my best examples is there is a bridge below the Grantley Adams Memorial School. Molasses Bridge. The span, the height is almost 100 feet from where the bridge is to where it ends in the gully, built by hand, built by our ancestors. Simply amazing. Built by people who would have had the same skill as Mr. Waterman, but they didn't leave a name. All you have is the bridge. That's it.
And it's still standing.
And it's still standing. And in
after
excellent,
1682.
in excellent condition.
There's photographs online as well of this bridge. You know,
This Blackman's Bridge.
Across Blackman's Gully. And still there is a real beautiful sight.
The risk to life and limb.
Oh, definitely risk to life.
That's what gets me all the time.
Yes. And not only that, how strong were you to do that?
Yeah.
Because we might have a police system, but somebody had to pull it. There was no engine. The engine was.
Is this the one to which we're referring?
Yes. Yes. Beautiful bridge. Blackman's Bridge. Blackman's Bridge. So this is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, so Straw Waterman is one of the very few who actually signed his name, but there are many more unheralded and unknown who've done that work. So we come to celebrate them.
And that's best said. We come to celebrate them. But you know, in celebrating them as well, it just inspires us to see what else we can do.
Correct.
And also not to take our spaces and our people for granted. Because these are hardworking Barbadians who look like us, who can be as poor as us, but they were determined. And they used their skill to develop a society on which we now live. And so we want in Standpipe Stories to hear your stories as well, because, and it's not just about celebrating the big high-flying people. There's some little average people as well who bake bread. And who may have been so instrumental in changing the lives of people as they go, or found different ways to create that bread, that loaf of bread. And I'm sure that's also going to be critical with this whole series.
Yes, I mean, we are looking at people who were laborers, people who were artisans, people who were domestics, and these people made an important contribution to the society. For example, there's this folk song about Miss Mattie at Kendall.
It's a big bread.
Big bread.
Taught his soda to kill you dead. Yes.
You know,
Who was Miss Mattie?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, we're still researching her.
Okay.
We're still researching her for the dictionary of Barbadian biography that we are doing at the university right now. But that person, you could imagine bakers, you could imagine mobby women going around the place and, you know, making their statement and being an important fixture or feature on these plantations and in these societies. So those are the type of stories we will tell, and we will tell some ghost stories as well.
Oh, good. Share one with me.
For example, at a certain institution in the parish of St. John, there's a story of a ghost which the ministers there call Chisholm. I guess you know what that institution is. Codgerton College.
I know. Talk to me some more.
And apparently, when people were studying there, they would hear books being thrown down, shelves being dismantled, and I thought it was a joke until one day in 2018, I was going down the stairs at Codgerton. I was at the bottom of the stairs, almost there. All of a sudden, I am flat on my back.
What?
And a lady who picked me up said, that was the college ghost,
oh my word.
Chisholm.
No,
I'm actually colder. I like cold temperatures. I'm actually colder.
But people,
and this is the house in which Sir Christopher Codron was born. This is Old Principal's Lodge.
Yes.
The old mansion house.
I know where it is, yeah.
You know where it is. Okay, there you go.
Codrington died there.
Codrington died there as well. Yes.
And then there's the story, Pearson, of this man called Seeley, Henry Seeley, who loved the view at St. John Parish Church. And he said, when I die, I want to be interred standing. And there is a standing grave for him.
Seriously?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is a standing
I missed that.
grave.
You missed that.
Whoa.
There is a standing grave so that he could see the view.
Yeah. How smart. How brilliant. And all of that is there. And these are the stories that we'll get tomorrow, 4 o'clock in the afternoon in St. John Parish Church, delivered by Kevin Farmer, and of course captured by the Department of History and Philosophy at the University of the West Indies for the next iteration of Today in Bajan History.
Yes.
And it is such a wonderful novel to read, and because it really chronicles who we are. And I know history gathering is what the museum does, but this book, I hope you have several copies of them there.
We will have some on sale.
In our bookshop.
In our bookshop, good.
And we'll have some on sale tomorrow.
And you have more on sale tomorrow?
Yes. So come up. There'll be a marketplace in the area. Come up, we'll be there around 10 o'clock.
Sweet.
And you can get your book. And I'll be there hopefully to autograph the book for you.
Right. So from 10 o'clock in the morning, you're there at the church. And then from 4 o'clock is when Kevin takes over with everything else. Okay, great. So discover the rich history, heritage, and culture of St. John. Listen to authentic stories told by the heart and soul of St. John. See the amazing talent in the parish. Preserve those moments for an inspiring publication for generations to come. And build connections with parish ambassadors and a whole lot more. So there's a lot happening on the compound at St. John Parish Church tomorrow. Get there early o'clock because that book today in Bajan History can be autographed by you, by the author, the man who helped to compile all of this, Dr. Henderson Carter. And of course in the afternoon, tell your stories inside the church with Kevin Farmer. And let's get another publication going. This is important, people. Don't miss it, indeed. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
No, thank you too.
Kevin, I wish you well tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Lord, what am I doing tomorrow? I got to make a drive into St. John. Oh, look.
Yes.
The headstone.
Yes.
Here lie the remains of Adam Straw Waterman, his wife Nancy Hannah, their children and grandchildren, Dahlia and her.
Laura Durant.
Clara Durant. And somebody else, Waterman. But you see, but even that in itself is something that you need to go and see for yourself.
Plenty Waterman. Yes.
Oh, that's it. See? There you go. I see why I love a graveyard. All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. All the best with tomorrow. Folks, we'll be going to St. John Parish Church tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're back in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Week after week, Scold presents exciting reports and documentaries on the most varied topics of our time. Spectacular developments and innovations, lifestyle and trends of tomorrow, mobility and tourism, health news, highlights from art and culture. Each contribution grabs the viewer with extraordinary images and stories and takes him into fascinating worlds which he experiences here exclusively and up close. We're there when companies and specialists develop super satellites for a global network in space and can look behind the scenes. Scold is a window to everything that is there or is yet to come. Fly with us through time to better understand today and tomorrow. You've always wanted that. Scold, a look into the future.
Our world today is not the world God wants it to be. One of the reasons which will surprise many is that our planet, its governments, and its peoples are all living under the weight of Satan's rule. From the beginning of mankind's existence to today, human history is the written record of what it means to live under the rule of the devil. Yet that rule is coming to an end. And what a difference that will make.
Every Sunday at 9 a.m. on CBC TV 8, tune in for Tomorrow's World, sponsored by the Living Church of God.
Hey there, it's Mahalia. I want to share something that might be really helpful. If you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, depressed, or lonely, and have no one to talk to, call Lifeline Barbados. We all face struggles at times in our lives. You're not alone. There's no need to feel ashamed or embarrassed. It's okay to reach out for support. Lifeline Barbados is committed.
19 minutes now to go to the hour of 8 o'clock as we turn our attention to meeting a Barbadian afar. You know we love it when we talk to people who are going elsewhere and just stamping not just their authority but their ability in a different land, different from the land of their birth indeed. And so this morning we're going across to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to say a happy good morning from Barbados to Katrina Smith, who is an author, but she's also a wonderful contributor. Katrina, good morning to you.
Good morning, person. How are you?
Thank you. If they could just put noise in my ears so I can hear you clearly. And so talk to me a little bit about your life in St. Vincent and how long have you been living there?
Well, I have been living here about 4.5 years now. I relocated to St. Vincent just a few months before the volcano erupted in 2021. While I was working in Barbados, I was laid off from my job during COVID, and I decided, let me look for something that I might be a bit more passionate doing, and I was able to find an opportunity in St. Vincent, so I've been working here since then.
Those are two bold reasons to be there. One, you took a leap of faith in yourself, having been laid off, to go to a different place. That must have been amazing. What prompted you to make that particular decision about St. Vincent only?
Okay, so I have family in St. Vincent, so I told myself here might be a better option than going someplace where I don't know anyone at all.
All right, got that. And then you landed there, and lo and behold, a volcano erupts.
Super blow.
How was that for you, acknowledging that I've left the safety of my home where there are no volcanoes to come to a land, family aside, where there is a volcano and it had to erupt while I was there? How was that?
I was wondering what was the lesson behind this, because I told myself when I came here everything would have been fine, but then the volcano blew and I wouldn't even tell a lie. I spent many nights crying, just telling myself I need to get back home, I need to get back home. But it was a good learning experience, and I found resilience in the whole situation, so it worked out.
But so you've settled there now pretty much, right?
Yes, please.
And so far so good?
Home is home. Nothing can replace home. So homesickness sometimes settle in, but you have to be able to maneuver it. They got ebbs and flows. Sometimes you will feel fine and sometimes you will feel not so happy, but you learn to go with it day by day.
You know, food is different. Food is always different wherever you go. I saw your eyes pop. How was it adjusting your palate to your menus of the things that you love to eat that a little bit different in St. Vincent?
Well, Vinci food's sweet. The Bajans might not like to hear this, but Vinci food's sweet. I don't eat meat, so I mainly consume fish or seafood, but I found some people here who got a nice hand, so it's been good. It's been good.
That's good. I'm glad you're about that. So what are you doing while you're there now?
So I work at a newspaper, Searchlight newspaper in St. Vincent, but before I used to work in television at SVG TV. I was a reporter in Barbados as well, so my whole career has been in journalism.
Right. Do you know a lady by the name of Jennifer Henderson? Richardson Herbert.
She was a presenter at SVG TV. Yes, please. But I believe when I came on, she would have just left.
Oh, yes, okay. So, but I'm told that you're also into writing. Talk to me a little bit about what you've been doing and what kinds of things you've been writing.
Well, St. Vincent is known as the land, Hayruna, the land of the blessed. And I really believe it is so, because while I was in Barbados, I used to write a bit, but living here, I've gotten so much inspiration for stories. I also write fiction, write news, and in addition, I'm also a filmmaker. And I recently produced a documentary on the Spiritual Baptists in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because I went through a very turbulent time when their religion was banned. So we produced a feature-length documentary on it, and it's the first of its kind ever done in St. Vincent. So I am especially proud about that achievement.
I like the way you perked up when you said that one indeed.
Yes.
Is that available for distribution to Barbados that we can show here at TV8?
Well, right now we are on the festival circuit. So the next thing that we're looking to do is show it at Carry Festa, which is August in Barbados.
In Barbados.
So I'm looking, yes, please. I'm looking forward to be home for that screening.
Nice. But finding the inspiration to write, you know, Fortune St. Vincent has the mountains and the hills and so forth. So you can go off into the hills and clear your head and just write. Where do you find the time, one, because of your busy schedule as a journalist, but the inspiration also to write?
Well, I started to kill two birds with one stone. So most of the stories that I write come from work. So I would go out to assignment in the field, cover a story, and then the inspiration will come and I will put like a fictional spin on it. So it's always news into fiction, which is, you will hear later with the story that was included in the anthology.
That's it. That's where we want to come to, because the anthology is called Writing for Our Lives, a Caribbean Climate Justice Anthology. How did you get caught up in that? Because you're one of a number of Caribbean people doing so.
So when I initially saw the call for submissions, I was a bit hesitant because I'm not too happy about writing for themes. I like to know when I sit down and write, I could go anywhere that my mind takes me. But the thing about it, climate change and climate justice is a topic that I tackle regularly in my professional work. As a matter of fact, while we were in the editing phase for the anthology, I was back and forth to the Grenadines because you know that they were lashed by Hurricane Beryl in July last year. So I was writing about climate change and climate justice for fiction and also writing about it for work.
And so out of for work, the facts, you were able to craft the fiction side of it, fictional side of it.
Yes,
But
please.
did you feel as if you were doing some injustice to the truth, if you wish to call it that? How did you get away from dealing with the facts to doing the fiction?
Yes, that's a very good question. Sometimes I do feel that way, like I should stick primarily to the facts, but you know, in fiction you have the creative license, so I like to spice it up a little bit and, you know, sensationalize certain things for the benefit of the reader.
Yes. In terms of the climate crisis and the climate change in St. Vincent itself, what examples are you seeing that would convince you or anyone watching today that there is this thing called climate change? There are lots of doubters today who are saying, that's just somebody just made that up. So what examples do you have to prove that there is a thing called climate change?
Yeah, so before Hurricane Beryl had hit the Southern Grenadines, I would have went to Union Island particularly to cover some stories. So you take a ferry from mainland and you go down and you land at the dock and you come off. Now what I remember seeing prior to 2024 is a beautiful island, nice houses, nice buildings, people who are always smiling and ready to offer you something to drink when you come into their house. And when we came off of the ferry, it was like a tornado had hit the island, like nothing was standing and people were walking around half dressed. Because they didn't have time to get dressed to run out of their homes. And it was just this look of confusion and desperation on people's faces that it was just devastating. Even now, close to a year after the hurricane, many of them have become climate migrants in that they had to leave the Grenadines and relocate to mainland to build a new home. And it's something that of course they would take. It takes a while for them to get accustomed to, but it's still some type of injustice in it because you didn't ask for this. And now you don't have any home, the future is uncertain and you have to go to live someplace where you have to build and start from scratch.
Shocking. And again, these are experiences that you've never had in Barbados. You've left the safety of
you know how they say all the time, God is a Bajan, and I went to Elsa and I think it was Thomas, and the damage, I live in Station Hill in Barbados, St. Michael. The damage was minimal most of the times. And then you come down here and you see just big two-story houses just ripped in half.
Wow.
Yeah, devastating.
Yeah. And then could you share a little bit from your story? Because you've added your voice to the other voices of the region as part of this anthology. Would you have it there with you?
Yes, I don't know if you could call it my voice, right? Personally, I did this thing where I chose to wrote the story in Vinci dialect.
Okay.
So I'll give you an excerpt. Water, welfare, and worries. Me know it be some vagabond from this here village a report with a water authority. Watch. Noonie, Mr. Best, and now Hopi water get locked off. That not no coincidence. Farmhead talking with so much vexation that spit flying out his mouth in me direction. Me chime in. But who gonna be so bold to report me on? Me try as best as possible to make me voice firm, like Farmhead on. Pour bass all over it so everybody sure me angry too. But the voice crack a little due to the nerves. So me and adjust a piece of cloth on me head, like me trying to shake off the night air. This is the only 2 cents me could afford to drop into the conversation though. Me head pounding, me hands starting to tremble, pressure going up. That is what me a call this here meeting for, so me could find out how Farmhead a move it come like he is constituency representative for Camden Park. Out by the bayside filling up with more and more people, pouring in like liquid through the narrow path that connect the beach back to the lane. Any more people come down, it looking like we gonna have to pack up in the boats that line up on the sand. It seemed like everybody well concerned about this water business. Hopi, with she too bad foot, move up to the microphone slow, like we got whole night down here. A shadow bigger than she backside cast behind she from the shop light. The only thing that making we able to see each other faces. Strong rum and cigarette smoke smelling up the place, and only making me head more giddy. CWSA tell me it's $200 to turn back on me water. Where me find that sort of money from? Me tell them that me no waste no water, but them saying that somebody bringing picture with me hosing down me porch. Hopi lies shaking like they're about to give out, and Farmhead easing in closer to prop she up. A couple more people come onto the microphone to share them story, all sounding the same. Water lock off, and CWSA say they must pay to get it back on.
Christina, don't tell them about, because people have to get the book to read the rest of it, and that's the whole point. So the book is being launched tomorrow. You've worked with the Cropper Foundation. You're part of this anthology being produced by them. We'll talk to them in just a moment. But one last question I have to ask you. When last were you home?
So I came home in June last year, but that was a very short vacation, just 2 weeks. And when I visited Bridgetown particularly and saw the renovations from where what's called Freedom Square?
Yes.
Yeah, and Hero Square as well. And it was like, wow, this looked like a totally different place. It was a good experience.
In other words, they all come back home soon.
Just now.
What Bajan food do you miss most?
Oh, the cocoa and the flying fish, for sure.
See, they don't do that in St. Vincent like we do it here in Barbados.
They don't, but we can tell them that.
Not at all. Yeah. Christina Smith, thank you so very much indeed for joining me this morning. I wish you well there in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You're, for us, another outstanding Barbadian afar. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're very welcome indeed. And so we're coming back in a moment because we want to introduce you to the Cropper Foundation and the work that they're doing in the region. Right back in a moment.
Hey there, it's Mahalia. I want to share something that might be really helpful. If you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, depressed, or lonely, and have no one to talk to, call Lifeline Barbados. We all face struggles at times in our lives. You're not alone. There's no need to feel ashamed or embarrassed. It's okay to reach out for support. Lifeline Barbados is completely confidential. No one else will know you called. They're there to offer a caring ear and guidance without judgment. And fellas, I want you to know asking for help is a true sign of strength. It takes real courage to reach out. You can also call Lifeline Barbados if you're worried about loved ones who are struggling and you need advice on how to support them. There's a saying, a problem shared is a problem halved, but not everyone has someone they can confide in. That's why Lifeline Barbados exists, to be there for you or someone you care about during tough times. Save this number. Lifeline Barbados is just a call away. Remember, you can reach out whenever you need to talk.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who...
The book is called Writing for Our Lives, a Caribbean Climate Justice Anthology. It's produced by the Cropper Foundation. Who are the Cropper Foundation? Joining me now is the communications lead, Ardeen Serju. Good morning to you, Ardeen.
Good morning to you. Thank you so much for having us on. And I want to say a special shout out to Christine, who I've never met in person. We've only been communicating via email. And it was such a happy discovery in one way that we had a Bajan writer living in St. Vincent. And it just underscores for us that these Caribbean connections, they're just so inevitable.
You're welcome, and you're absolutely right. Foundation, what is the Cropper Foundation? What are you there to serve?
All right, so I can give you a little background. We actually turned 25 years old this year. So it was founded in 2000 by John and Angela Cropper. John Cropper was an Englishman, Angela Cropper a Trinidadian, and their journey was really solidified by their interest and passion for the environment and more specifically sustainable development. Angela went on to serve at various levels throughout the region and internationally at the UN in respect of sustainable development and environmental conservation. So when the foundation was set up, it started with, interestingly, and which is a great entry point, I think, for us to talk a little bit about our work in the arts, because as a sustainable development NGO, you don't really expect to hear about, a book being produced, right? But one of their first acts was to establish the Cropper Foundation Writers Residential Workshop. So it was a space where they catered to emerging writers specifically, where they wanted writers to address this question of Caribbean identity through our writing. And so we've had a number of acclaimed and prize-winning published authors who've come through the Cropper Foundation, like Kai Miller, Jamaica's Kai Miller. We've had Miriam Chansey, who's Haitian American. So it was very much focused on creating a space for the region's writers to come together in person, which was a formidable effort and the only thing of its kind 25 years ago. So that was one of the first acts of the foundation. From there, they went on to do a number of projects, execute a number of projects in the area of sustainable agriculture, natural resource management, and undergoing a lot of research in terms of understanding what exists, for instance, in Trinidad, in the Northern Range, which is a huge biodiverse territory in this country. And so that has really been the focus of the organization. We're based in Trinidad and Tobago and work primarily here, but we've always collaborated with other actors in the region.
And so this anthology is such collaboration, but you're looking particularly at the whole idea of climate justice. And so how difficult or easy was it to get people to come together to be a part of the anthology?
Well, I would say, first of all, just to say that this is part of an ongoing project where we are looking at how the arts can advance this climate justice conversation. Of course, it's a timely conversation. We know that there's growing interest in climate change, but there's also a kind of wariness of the idea of climate change, because often when we talk about it, it's in the wake of some kind of disaster.
Yes.
So we felt that the arts, our literary arts, theater arts, visual arts, and the final component we'll be executing next year is the Old Mass Carnival tradition in Trinidad. We found that these arts and art forms were a fantastic vehicle that could be used and maybe are underutilized and undervalued when we talk about difficult conversations like climate justice. So we decided to build on the legacy of the work we've been doing in Caribbean writing as a foundation and open this call for submissions, which we did early May last year. And we were so thrilled to receive over 130 submissions from 14 Caribbean territories. So you can imagine the exercise it was paring that down to an anthology that features now 18 Caribbean writers from 8 Caribbean territories. And I just wanted to say that I have the fantastic honor of revealing the book for the first time to your audience. This is what it looks like. Yes, it was published by Pcash Press, based here in Trinidad and Tobago. And one of the feats, I would say, of this anthology is that it's all homegrown. Our editors are Diana McCauley from Jamaica, prize-winning author who founded the Jamaica Environment Trust. And we also have an alumna of the Cropper Foundation Writers Workshop, Shivani Ramlochan, who's a poet. She's based here in Trinidad also. And yeah, so it's just been a fantastic journey. It's been challenging at times. We did have setbacks, one major one being the loss of our lead editor.
Yes.
He passed away very suddenly at the start of the project. But we've recovered. We're happy to be here and launching it tomorrow at the Focus Lit Fest in
I see
Trinidad.
that. And so soon it will be available across the region. We'll be able to access it, no doubt, online and get ourselves our copies as well. The book is called Writing for Our Lives, a Caribbean Climate Justice Anthology, produced by the Cropper Foundation. Ardeen Serju is the communications lead. All the information you need is right there on your screen. You can go to thecropperfoundation.org and get more details on how you can get it into your hands to read more of those stories, Writing for Our Lives.
Yes, so
I know the launch is tomorrow from 3:30 to 4:30 in Trinidad, but soon we in Barbados will be able to get copies. If you just go to the website and just indicate, and I'm sure we'll find it. Ardeen, I want to leave.
We'll also be live streaming the event. So those who want to see Christina, I'm sure, will be tuning in via the live stream. I'm so sorry we couldn't bring her and a number of the other regional authors to the event in person, but we can accommodate folks online. So please join us online via the Bocas Lit Fest live stream on YouTube and Facebook.
Bocas Lit Fest on YouTube as well. All right, thank you so much, Ardeen. I have to leave it there, but thank you. All the best.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. On that note, we've closed the book for today, and we want to thank you so much for keeping us company, ladies and gentlemen. Always share the show. Tell someone else about it. We wish you a wonderful weekend, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.